welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin and I am so excited that you decided to take time out of your day to spend with me because today we are doing my September wrap up and October reset within this video, and I'm going to go ahead and apologize for my crusty appearance. Your girl has been not feeling good these past couple of days. Also, you can hear it in my voice. But yeah, we need to get this video up. So, you got to make it happen. So, let's talk about these books. Okay, y'all. So, for the month of September, we decided to make some star rating predictions. I predicted what I would rate each book in my September TBR. And if I read something that wasn't on my TBR, I put my star rating prediction at the beginning of me talking about that book in that vlog. So now we're going to see how many I got right and how many I got wrong. And I'm thinking I got more wrong than I got right, y'all. Apparently I'm not good at making these predictions, but I do plan to keep a counter on screen so we can see how many I got right and how many I got wrong. Okay, so we have a good number of books to get through, so I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. I have my laptop pulled up with all the things that I need, and yeah, let's get into some stats really quickly. So for the month of September, I read 14 books, and that totaled to about 5,114 pages, and I had an average rating of 3.75. So yeah, that is a lot of pages. Like a lot of pages. Okay, Erin, you was reading this one. That's cute. All right, let's get into this and talk about what happened. So the first book that I want to talk about is The Adults by Bronwyn Fisher, and this is a literary fiction book that is basically like a coming of age and college story where we have our main character who is kind of struggling along. She's a little socially awkward and she wants to fit in, but she's having a really hard time, and she meets this older woman and they strike up this relationship, and something else happens. I don't know what happens because I didn't finish this. I ended up DNFing this book because I am not a fan of age gap, but if it's done a certain way, I feel like I can be, I'm not even gonna say be okay with it, but like get through it, right? And this, I just felt so bad for our main character, and she was so naive and just not in a good place in her life. And with her personality, I just did not feel comfortable reading an age gap romance with her. I felt like it just felt wrong. So I didn't know before I even got to that part to kind of save myself some pages and save my mental health. So this was the DNF. I predicted it to be a 3-star. I was wrong. Moving on into our next book, we have The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. And this is a YA fantasy romance about our main character. What was her name? So our main character, Alessandra, has a plan, and she wants to woo the Shadow King and kill him and take his crown, right? So she gets his attention, moves into the palace, all these things, and she ends up maybe kind of sort of liking him, which it's harder to kill somebody when you like them. And also, the Shadow King is trying to figure out who killed his parents. So he has all the people who were there that night that his parents died sequestered in the palace. So he figures it out. And it was a fun time. I liked this way more than I thought I would. Yeah, this was a good time for sure. And so my predicted rating was a 3.5 star, and I ended up rating this 4 stars. But still a really great book, and one I definitely will be recommending going forward. Book number 3 is The Bookbinder's Guide to Love by Catherine Garbera, one of those. And I predicted this to be a 3.5 star. This was a 2 star. And I feel like Now thinking back on it, that 2 star was kind of nice. That was me being nice. I was not a fan. I did not like this. I didn't. So this book is about this girl who binds journals, and a celebrity came in and got one of the journals and like blew up. So she has attributed her success to these journals. Their work has picked up at the shop, and our main character was friends with an older man who ended up passing, and he left her some books, and his grandson is pissed off that he left her the books instead of giving them to him. So he comes in and tries to, like, why my granddaddy give you these books, blah blah blah. And he is also a bookbinder. He learned from his grandfather as well. And so, yeah, they just kind of strike up this romance. Yeah, I liked the coziness of this, but I wasn't a fan of the couple. I feel like they had so many issues, like personal issues, that they then brought into their relationship. And like, I'm not going around in circles with you. Like, if I tell you I like you one day, and then we just go to bed and wake up and you like, oh my god, do you still like me today? Like, oh my gosh, what? But girl, ain't nothing happened. So it's just, I feel like we took one step forward in the relationship, and it was a baby step just to get knocked back 3 steps. And it was just an annoying cycle that I wanted no part of. And yeah, anyway, 2 stars. And I ended up reading The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. And I was not expecting to read this book, but it was on Kindle Unlimited for a limited amount of time because of like the KU 10-year anniversary or whatever. So I was like, oh, let me pick this up because I've had that hold at the library for months and still have months to go. So yeah. And my prediction for this was a 4 star. And as I like right at the beginning, I was like, oh my God, I absolutely love this writing. Like, Catherine Center can write. She can weave a story in this beautiful, heartfelt way. And I was like, oh my God, is this gonna be 5 stars? I thought it was, but I could not stand Charlie, and that is our love interest. And he was just an awful person. He was awful to, is her name Emma? Emily? One of those. And he was awful to her. And because of that, I cannot support their relationship. So, yeah, I also wanted her to stand up. Like, cause girl, you were begging for pieces of this man. He is telling you out his mouth he don't want you, but you're like, oh, but you looked at me this way and you kissed me. Now, for me, like, if any person tells me who they are, I'm going to believe them the first time, and I just feel like no. So, as a story, a general story, I really enjoyed this book. But as a romance, as a love story, nah, you can keep that. But I do want to check out more Catherine Center, because I really, really loved her writing. So I ended up giving this a 4 star. And yeah, I actually literally at this moment I just forgot that I said that I'm sure the counter is right on the screen, but I haven't mentioned it at all. So let me go back and catch us up and get it together. So I was wrong about the adult. I was wrong about the shadows between us, and I was wrong about the Bookbinder's Guide to Love, but I was right about the rom-coms. I was right. Okay, now that we are all caught up, let's keep it moving. Now I picked up Piglet by Lottie Hazel. And I thought this was going to be a 4 star. I don't know why I thought that. This was a DNF. This was a DNF. And so Piglet is the story of this woman whose nickname is Piglet. We never actually learn her real name. Well, I did it in the pages that I read. I don't know if they tell her at the end of the story, but whatever. She has built what she thinks is the perfect life, and she uses like meals that she cooks. She cooks these grand meals and like invites people over, and like basically my life is better than yours. And yeah, so something happens with her fiance. I think he cheated, but it wasn't explicitly said in the pages that I read. And she still decides to go forth with the wedding because she finds out like 2 weeks before the wedding. She's like, "Nah, we still gonna get married." She wants to act like nothing has happened, but she is unraveling, and has she has an issue with disordered eating, and she is basically insatiable in at certain points with food, but also in life. She always wants more than what she has. She needs more than what people are giving her. So, yeah, I just wasn't a fan of the disordered eating part of this book. I didn't feel like we had to use that to get the story, to get the point of the story. And I also wasn't a fan of Piglet, our character. I just feel like she was annoying. She wasn't likable, and I felt sorry for her. I maybe not. I felt where she was coming from and why she was the way she was, and I was empathetic towards her situation. But also through that, it just didn't work for me. I'm gonna leave it at that. And then we have Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands, which I predicted to be a 4 star, and I really enjoy reading Emily Wilde series. I love reading her journals. They're like academic journals at that. So I just feel like I get to like nerd out and like, you know, learn some new stuff and just be in Emily's head, and it's very cozy. And I feel like the banter between Emily and Wendell like amped up. Like it was top tier in this one. I had such a great time. And then the introduction of Ariadne was great. I feel like I like the plot of this one better than the first book, but I still had a really great time. And I ended up rating this 4 stars. So I was right about this. And yeah, it was fun. I will always say get the audiobooks if you can because it just makes everything better. I think the narrator was a perfect match for Emily. And yeah, that's all. Okay, and then I read A Wolf Steps in Blood by Tamara Jarre. And this is a little novella that follows a girl who's a werewolf and a blood witch. There's not much I can say about it because it's so short, but basically, our main character, Yasmin, is struggling. She feels like she's just kind of going through life. Life is kind of happening to her. She is a werewolf, but she doesn't like, she's not connected to her wolf. She thinks of it as like this separate entity, a separate, not a part of her, but you know what I'm trying to say. And she meets this blood witch, and they just have this instant attraction, connection type situation, and things unfurl from there. This is sapphic. This is spicy. I had a great time reading it. I predicted it would be 4 stars, and guess what? That it was. I got another one correct, and yeah, fun time. I definitely recommend this novella for sure. Next up, we have A Game of Gods by Scarlett St. Clair. This is book 6 in the overall Hades and Persephone saga, but the finale of the Hades saga. And my prediction for this was 3.5 stars, and I was correct. I have said this multiple times, so I just feel like the series really would have benefited from Scarlett St. Clair putting both POVs in one book and us not having to revisit everything that's already happened in one book in Persephone's perspective just to then experience it again in Hades' perspective. But I do like that we got new POVs introduced into this, and it was a pretty good time. I like being in this world, so yeah, I got this one correct. That's the most important thing. We have Looking, which is a novella by Katrina Jackson, and this is a polyamorous story about a married couple who go on this app looking for a third, and they find Jordan, and Jordan kind of, you know, comes in and changes everything for them, and it was a fun time. My prediction for this was a 4 star, but I ended up giving it a 3.5 star just because I feel like we saw the sexual relationship progress, but we didn't really get that same attention with the emotional part of the relationship. Or, like, yeah. Yeah. LOL, I just think I didn't like the epilogue. I know I talked more about it in the vlog that it was in. I think this one was in my crash out vlog. I just yeah, I felt like the epilogue would have made more sense if we had gotten more emotional moments with the thruple. But since we didn't get that, it was just kind of like, what? What? So, yes, I was incorrect about this one. And then moving on to Love at First Book by Jen McKinley. And this was predicted to be a 4 star, but I ended up giving it a 3.5 star. So for this one, we follow our main character who just needs to get away. So she sends a letter to her favorite childhood author, who eventually they come up with this job that she's going to be that author's assistant. So she moves to Ireland and works at their bookshop and is also helping her write this last book in this series. And the author's son, it doesn't really want her there for reasons we find out, but yeah, a lot of things happen in this, and I really enjoyed the atmosphere of this book, like being in Ireland and all the places that they were visiting. Like, I'm so jealous. Like, I really just want to go to Ireland. So, this was like the perfect vibes for me. I had a good time reading this. I think I just wanted more from the actual relationship that was built through this story. I didn't fully believe it, you know what I'm saying? I just kind of feel like it, not that it came out of nowhere, but it came out of nowhere. So, yeah, I was wrong about this one, but it was a 3.5 star, and I still really enjoyed my time with it. It was cozy. We had bookshops, we had authors, we had all the things that just make up a very cozy, good time. And then we have What a Match by Mimi Grace. I predicted this to be a 4 star, and I was correct. I did end up giving this 4 stars. This was the perfect fall romance, in my opinion. Like, if that's what you're looking for, definitely pick up What a Match. It was just so cute. In this, we follow Gwen, who decides to sign up for this matchmaking service because she is just, not really doing well in the dating scene, and her brother's best friend basically needs a place to stay, and so she offers to let him stay with her. And he has always had a crush on her, but he just kind of hid it, and I just loved how this played out. Yeah, this was a fun time. I like Anthony is a talker, and yeah, I like Anthony. He seems like a grump, but not even really grumpy. He's just like, I don't know. I liked him though. And this was fun. There's so many like fall activities, and yeah, I just liked it. I I didn't give this 5 stars because I felt like the third act breakup could have been solved very easily with a conversation, which is the case most of the time. Like, it could have been solved with a conversation. And I felt like the ending wrapped up a little weird. I kind of was expecting a little more from that as well, but I still love this. Recommend it to everybody, especially in the fall time. This will be a great, fun read. Then we have Better Than Fiction by Alexa Martin. And I predicted this will be a 4 star. I DNF'd this. I don't even think I made it 20 pages in. And that was because the main character was insufferable. I hated being in her head. She was such just a mean and jaded person. And I couldn't, no, I didn't want to deal with that. And her not like other girls. I didn't like our main character, and I was not about to read an entire book in her head when I was rolling my eyes at her at the first page. Not gonna do it. So I was wrong about this one, but that's okay. That's fine. That's fine. Another one that I was right about, and that is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Sigarelli. And I predicted this to be a 4.5, and I rated it a 4.5. Y'all, this had me anxious. This had me tight. Like, the stakes were high. The stakes were high. I loved Gideon. I loved Rune. I wanted both of them to have what they wanted from the situation, which was impossible. So I was like, I don't know what to do, what I want, how this is gonna happen. Like I was skimming ahead to make sure everybody was okay, and then going back and like fully reading. This was a time, a witch and a witch hunter. Like it gave. I was here for it. I had a great time reading this, and I cannot wait until the sequel comes out. So yeah, all right. Now the embarrassing ones, because these are my 5-star predictions. And the first one is can't spell treason without T. I thought this was going to be a 5-star. And friends, it was a 3. It was a 3. And there was nothing really wrong with this. I just feel like I did not connect to the characters. I and that's pretty much it. Like, this is a cozy romance about a guard to the queen and like one of the most powerful mages in the land that they decide to run off and open up a book slash tea shop together. And it's just a story of that. And even though I feel like this was supposed to be lower stakes, there was one major situation of Reina running away from the queen that I feel like should have been like a bigger moment than what it was. Like it was resolved so simply and so easily. I'm like, now, why did you make it such a big deal at the beginning for it to only be like this very small part of the conclusion? Like that didn't make sense, honey. And it kind of annoyed me that Rain and Keon had to say that they were in a relationship with each other every 2 seconds. Like we get it, y'all are together, y'all are girlfriends. It's amazing. I'm happy for you, but you don't have to tell everybody every 2 seconds. Like we know, we get it. It's we're here for it. Okay, that's fine. So, yeah, I just think those things made it not connect as much for me, but it's still a cozy, fun time. Next, we have Masters of Blood by Carolina Wild. I predicted this to be a 5-star, and it was a 3.5. And I feel like this story had so much potential. So, we have a princess who was kidnapped by the vampire king, and they basically have like a, I guess, a hate to love. I don't know. I wouldn't say that. They just have a you kidnapped me to love. You kidnapped me and I'm upset about it, but also you took me out of a bad situation and gave me a life that I did not think I could have situation. I think one of the things that did kind of irritate me about this was the relationship. Like, you know, and how that came to be. Her parents were assholes and did not deserve to have children at all. And with this, it is a self published book, and I do, let some errors slide, but the amount of spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, there were just a lot of them, especially in the second half of the book. There's like something on every page, and that ended up kind of taking me out of the story more. But I did like the lore of the vampires in this world. I think the story had a ton of potential, maybe just needed a little more editing, and it could have been, it could have been for me. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. Unfortunately, I was incorrect about this one as well. And moving to the Neighbor Favor by Christina Forrest, I predicted this to be a 5-star and I ended up rating it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I did not enjoy, however, the fact that there were 60, maybe more, but definitely at least 60 pages of emails with like no break in between. And I understand why she did that. It definitely, had a purpose within the story, but I'm just like, goodness gracious, like it was a little bit like overkill. But I did enjoy Lily and Nick individually as characters and how they worked on themselves and then brought that growth into their relationship. I don't like that Nick took as long as he did to reveal his identity, but it's fine. The Neighbor Favor is about Lily, our main character, who wants to get into editing for children's books, but she's kind of stuck in the nonfiction section right now. And so one day she emails her favorite fantasy author, and they strike up this conversation going back and forth with the emails. And she ends up developing a crush. They end up developing a crush on each other. And crazy things happen that he ends up moving to New York and they end up being neighbors. And so Nick figures out who Lily is first, but he, of course, takes his time in telling her that they end up liking each other in real life too. And that's how Nick realizes who Lily is. And yeah, I love that Lily stood up to her family. I am all for a stand up to the family moment in books. Like, yes, get them together. And yeah, had a good time. It just wasn't, I didn't get those 5-star feelings from this one. So it was a 4-star. Definitely would recommend. Definitely pick it up. It was a great time. But the last book I was correct about. And that does things for me. That makes me happy, and that is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. The way I ate this up, the way I love Araya and Rain, the way that this just consumed me as I was reading it. I buddy read this with Lex, and the way we were both just like, we binged a big chunk of this book at the end because we just had to find out what was happening next. I love the way that Carissa Broadbent wrote this world and expanded this world so much, and there were so many moving parts, but each part made sense to the story and you weren't confused, and if you were, that was on purpose. Look, I could scream, cry, and throw up about this book because it was just all the things. The blood drinking scene, Carissa, that was cute. Love that. I just This was a great book. This was a great book. So we follow Araya, who is basically adopted by this vampire king. So she lives among vampires. She's never safe because, of course, they want to eat her. And he teaches her how to fight and how to protect herself. And she is entered into this competition called the Kajari. And it's basically a fight to the death, and the winner gets some wish. Alrighty, y'all. So angle change because my microphone died. But I was talking about The Serpent and the Wings of Night. We had this vampire named Rain who decided that he wanted to ally with Araya for this competition for his own reasons. But she is very confused and skeptical because why would a vampire want to ally with the weakest person in the competition? This was a fun time for sure. And Carissa Broadbent didn't need another fan, but she added another one in me and Lex, and I just am so happy that I was correct about this book. I had a great time reading it. I'm ready to continue on in this series, and there's just nothing like a 5-star feeling, and I was so happy that I ended up getting one this month. All of my other 5-star predictions for this month didn't pan out, so I'm just happy that we had one. You know what I'm saying? For my confidence, for my spirit, I needed one to be right. So if we look at the tally, we see that I got 10 incorrect, but I got 7 correct. And let's talk about that because I thought it was going to be way worse. I didn't do too bad. So I'm not going to say that I'm proud of myself, but I'm not embarrassed. And that's a good place to be. Now we are going to move on into our October reset portion of this video. So basically I'm just going to be making my TBR shelf and making my journal spread for the month. And yeah, let's get into it. Alrighty, and that will bring us to the end of this video. Thank y'all so much for watching and supporting my channel. I now have 100 subscribers, and that is all because of y'all. Like, I am just so thankful and so happy, and I just, all the feels. I can't thank y'all enough for being on this journey with me and just talking about books. It's one of my favorite things to do in the world. So yeah, feeling very sappy, very emotional about that. And just thank y'all again. And yeah, I hope that you have the best day that you possibly can. And with all of that being said, I will catch y'all in the next video. Bye.